Okay, photo-to-photo comparison number 3, a circa 1900 photograph that Dr. Kirschner is going to talk about the provenance and history of.
Well, we don't know a whole lot about the provenance, but around 1900 would have been around the years that Josephine and Wyatt were in Alaska. And this photograph, again, has shown up as, definitely Josephine, but your analysis, I think, is going to be the closest thing we have to establishing its authenticity.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about it. I think this image is very important in the scope of what we're trying to do here, and we'll know more as we go forward, as we look at two more photographs in addition to this. But I think it acts as a really nice transitional image between her, the authenticated photos and the photos of her as a young woman. And we'll do an age progression later in the slideshow, but let's talk about this image first. First, some basic observations. The shape of the nose is consistent. This Cupid's bow, now in her authenticated photos as an older woman, her lips had thinned significantly, which is typical when somebody ages. But the images we're going to see of her as a younger woman, they all have this sort of Cupid's bow. The lips are a little fuller. They're still fairly narrow, but a very pronounced philtrum and a very pronounced Cupid's bow. We see that hairline spike, which I made observation of, and a hair part, swept back hair covering a portion of the ear, strong and pronounced chin. Okay, so I made little marks for you guys who were watching the slideshow. Cupid's bow, hairstyle covering portion of the ear, and the hairline spike. One discrepancy I saw was and this could be because of the angle of the photograph, that her ear is stuck out quite a bit compared to, we can't quite see the ear here, which is unfortunate. I thought maybe that this could have been a portion of her ear, and it still could be, but unfortunately the image is blurred here a little bit. This could be the bottom portion of her ear, in which case it would be consistent in the shape from this angle, but it might be the only inconsistency that I saw in this image as far as comparison. Let's go into more detail. Consistent expression. There's the wry smile, which we saw. There's the pitting at the corner of the mouth. The hairline is consistent. The style of hair and the way it's kept is consistent. The nose, it's a fairly wide-based nose with a little bit of a bulb at the bottom. It did drop in older age, which is consistent with aging. Nostrils are visible from this angle in both photographs, which is consistent. The shape and arch of the eyebrows, although her eyebrows did thin in older age, again this is consistent with aging. And the heavy liddedness, shape of the eyes is fairly consistent. There's the spike in more detail. I think one of the sort of strong characteristics in her hairline, which we can sort of go to as, which will help us in our analyses.
And you can't see it here, but you see it when you see the whole image. Again, there's that posture, the way she sits, the angle of her head. So from the layman's point of view, all those subjective characteristics seem very much like the Josephine that I would expect.
The way she likes to be photographed sort of communicates confidence. She's back, her chin is usually up. There's like she exudes an energy and a confidence in most of her pictures. I did a measurement. They came almost identical.
This is like the Olympics, when you post the numbers.
The East German judge gave her 99.16. Again, the mouth to the inner eye. This could be as she got older, there could have been some sagging in the skin, which gave a little bit more length. But once we established the ratio, the interpupillary distance, we can then sort of make critical facial distance measurements, and in this case they match up almost exactly. Which makes sense because they actually look like each other. I thought I could see in here that this was maybe not brown eyes. It's just too fuzzy. I put a question mark here.
And I'm quite sure she did have brown eyes.
Yeah. I decided to put in the tintype photo that we analyzed 2 slides ago, or 2 sections in this presentation, to look at the consistencies. Again, we can't see her hairline or much of her ear because of the hat she's wearing, but consistency of expression, the pitted corners of the mouths, which we have in all three images. The shape of the eyes and the expression, which we just talked about, also being consistent. I also tilted the photograph of the oldest photograph we have of Josephine to see a similarity. I just think, just standing back and looking at these two images, I think we see a consistency in just how this woman looks, let alone the hairstyle. There it is again, swept back hair that covers the top portion of the ear, the hairline consistent. So what I did is, these are identical facial measurements. I just overlaid, superimposed these measurements over each. So this is the exact same distances, fairly consistent.